everyone, and welcome into the State 48 podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Matthews, bringing you all things AZ. And today we have a true hustler in the sports marketing game. You are a president and creator, founder of the society, which represents pretty well-known athletes, one that you might be familiar with, Patrick Peterson, Alex Guerrero here on the show. And I had to say your name like that because
you got to roll the R's.
My mom would be calling me saying, Mija, you know where you're from.
Mija, por favor.
Por favor. So your story is just so unique. Obviously an immigrant from the Dominican Republic and what you've been able to build here, your brand, your company. So we'll get into a lot. But first, we're going to do a little rapid fire.
Oh, I watched the YouTubes. I was ready for some sort of
this is the first
rapid
one
fire.
of rapid fire.
I like that.
Okay, I had to switch it up on you because I know you're a listener.
Okay, great.
So yeah, it's going to be fun. Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby? Like right off the bat, you want me to just go rapid fire? I would say golf.
Okay. I was guessing.
Yeah.
Okay. A quote I live by.
I would say that my favorite quote right now is go the path less traveled and leave a trail.
I've never heard that.
Yep.
Okay, I like that. Great to live by that. Favorite food?
My mom and wives, plátanos fritos. Yeah. Yeah, it's the first thing my wife learned from my mom. It was I took her home for Christmas before we were engaged or anything. And right when my mom saw Brooke, she took her straight to the kitchen and taught her how to make some plantains.
You gotta take care of my boy with this.
Yeah, of course.
Best golf course?
Ooh, so you'll hear this a lot from me on other platforms, but my golf life is pretty immaculate. Like I've been on trips to Australia with Larry and Patrick. We played Royal Melbourne. I played the #1 golf course in the country, in the world, Royal County Down in Northern Ireland. But I gotta say, as Arizona podcast, I would say that Flagstaff Pine Canyon Golf Club is my favorite golf course for many reasons beyond just the golf. Like the people there are amazing. There's a guy named Jason, Marty, who's the GM there. We have the P2 Ryder Cup there every year. And the way they receive us is really great because, golf is in many ways very stuffy. They open that weekend up for us and they treat us like we're all members there, where really it's just Pat and a couple other guys that are members, Scott Harkey, people like that. So yeah, like I really love Pine Canyon as a whole.
I love that, putting AZ on the map. You've been everywhere else, but you gotta give love to AZ.
Yes, I'm a very blessed golf life.
We'll talk about that, but I had to text Pat and say, I just had a quick question for you, Pat. Who's the better golfer?
Oh, that's... Yes, but here's the thing. Not only is he a world-class athlete, he's got world-class resources. Like Patrick's garage is a Dick's Sporting Goods, mostly because of me, by the way, because I built all the relationships with the club companies. But there is times, like, I always love to see that, like, people at, like, regular stores know Patrick, like at the PGA store when he lived in North Scottsdale. I used to walk in there, and I used to, like, ask, like, for something that was left for Pat. They're like, how's old Patty P doing? I was like, what? Like, you see him that much? That, like, you have a nickname for him? It's like, oh, yeah, he's here all the time. So, anyways, obsession for sure on his end.
But so good.
So good. And it's I will say, like, this is, I was blessed to play football for a long time. Hardest sport there is, just from the different dynamics. But Patrick actually even led, and his love for golf led to me starting a golf division. And now we represent the best golfer in Arizona, in my opinion. Mina Hare guy, who's top 40 player in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, we've golf plays a significant role in my life from the build up to where I'm at to what I'm currently doing with our golf division.
I actually met you on a golf course, ironically, at the Phoenix Open.
Yes.
We were following around Pat when I was with the Cardinals, and that's where we met.
That's right.
And I remember you said to me, because you were like, do you like golf? I was like, I don't golf. I don't really find it that entertaining. It's when I do try, it's just failed. And you were like, you need to learn how to play golf.
Right.
Because this is the center point for things go down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Business, relationships. And that's actually stuck with me because I need to.
And you've got a gift, right? You've had all these opportunities for a reason, right? You're engaging, you're knowledgeable. It's just one more dynamic to you as a person that can help you put in a position to do whatever you really want with it. Like some people like it for the competitive aspect, some people like it for the travel aspect, some people like it for the networking aspect. And so in all levels, it's an added value. So I've always said, but as a mom, it's really hard. My wife just got into it. So she's got into tennis, and then golf, and she used to work at a driving range, so she's got some game actually. It's pretty impressive.
I've taken lessons.
Oh wow. Okay.
I had like a godfather. Do you know Kent Chase here in the Valley?
I don't know Kent Chase.
Okay, so he's an amazing instructor.
Okay.
He actually trained. It's for more not pre-am. No, yeah, pre-am.
Yep.
Kids.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So he actually trained Tiger Woods.
Oh, is that a new golfer, Tiger Wolf?
Tiger Wolf. Be on the lookout.
Imagine if there was a golfer that first name was Tiger and last name was Wolf. Like that's a killer right there.
Someone's gonna do it. My friend actually named her son Tiger. So
oh wow.
There we have
that. Yeah, there we go.
Tiger Woods' niece.
Oh, very cool.
So he is like
Cheyenne Woods.
Yes, from here in the Valley.
Of course.
And coming from her lesson and then coming to me, I was like, I'm
sure you did fine.
But I really want to get into it.
Of course.
And
whole nother conversation.
Where are we? Okay. Rapid fire still. Okay.
Right.
Favorite football memory.
Favorite football memory. I would say it's running out for my first NFL football game for the Seattle Seahawks, CenturyLink. It was preseason. I didn't even make the team. But the fact that I had stuck to a goal and accomplished that goal that day, I have a really good gift for reflection. And I feel like that was another catalyst in my life of like, you can achieve anything you put your mind to, as cliche as that is.
I love that. So in the moment, you're saying you have a real time ability to appreciate.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a gift.
No, it really is. It really lends well in the industry I'm in, because even the most talented, blessed people in the world have inefficiencies in their personal lives, and they typically pay attention to the losses more than the wins. And I try to tell a majority of the guys I talk to, it's like, how can you lose if you only pay attention to the wins? You know what I mean? And really, it's unfortunate because we gravitate towards negativity. And we see that every day on social media, and why so many social media things change our society. But like I have that gift. And so I remember to this day just walking out or running out of that tunnel and being like, holy crap, like I didn't start playing football until high school. Like I made it a goal in my life to get a scholarship like my junior year of high school. So for that to 4 years later, 3.5 years later, be in the NFL was really special.
I love that too, because I always say, if you're not appreciating the small wins, and I always say, because I try to remember myself in those moments, if you're not appreciating the small wins, when God blesses you with something bigger, how are you going to even be able to appreciate it truly?
Yeah.
So, okay, we're getting emotional here. Workout of choice, because you said that you've been working out, right?
Yes. Peloton.
Oh.
Yeah. Peloton. Yeah.
That was my
I don't know what that was.
The listeners.
Yeah, was it, I think
the listeners have no idea what's going on.
I think that was a
here.
unicycle combined with something. I don't know what that was. Peloton, I'm still a pretty big guy. I played at 300 pounds, but I'm significantly down from that. But now I'm just trying to get down lower. And so it's lower impact. I was a basketball guy, like playing pickup basketball at Gilbert Christian 3 times a week. But I realized that was, more pounding. And also I was getting older and I was seeing a lot of guys get hurt.
The knees.
Yeah, and I was not about to be the guy that gets hurt playing pickup basketball where I never got hurt playing football. So that'd be a silly thing to go through.
It happens.
Yeah.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh my gosh. Hardest question ever, because I live my life based on quotes. The hardest part of like getting older and having business and having employees and being with younger generation is that I can't quote all the best movies that I believe were in my generation, like Adam Sandler. Like I'll say a quote from 50 First Dates and I think it's amazing, and then be like, what? I was like, one of our guys, like there's a list, a guy who works for me, Bronson, shout out Bronson, great young talent in sports marketing. he has a list of movies he has to watch. And a
Because you
majority
like-
of them, yes, a majority of them are Adam Sandler. Majority of them are, kind of the fun rom-coms back in the day.
Love it.
But yeah, so my favorite movie of all time, I would say it's between two, 1A, 1B,
Okay.
Shawshank Redemption and Wedding Crashers.
Wow,
I love
that's
Wedding
a collab-
Crashers because the lost art of not showing you everything in the previews, they did.
That's true.
Because they didn't even show us that Will Ferrell was in the movie in the previews. And then when he showed up, when Chaz showed up and the freaking theater went crazy, I was like, this makes a great movie.
I love and to consider that a classic now. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Oh, very
just
heartbreaking.
for
That's
our
such a great point.
our
Great point.
era. Okay, so quiz me. I'm not really good at the like pinning what movie it goes to, but maybe. So 'cause
Okay.
we seem to like the same movie. So
Yeah.
do a quote and see if I can.
Oh, you want me to quiz you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. Put me on the spot.
all right,
Put myself on the spot here.
Excuse me, if peeing your pants is cool, call me Miles Davis. Oh my
Wait.
gosh, this is a classic,
Yeah.
classic. Adam Sandler.
Oh, Waterboy.
No.
What?
Billy Madison. When he goes back to school.
Okay, so golf.
Yes,
Golf never aligning. That
Right.
was a Adam Sandler movie. That was
Wait, no. Was it Billy Madison? No. Yes, it was
have
Billy
our
Madison.
producer in the
yes,
back shaking.
Yes.
Billy Madison is the quote.
There
If
we
peeing
go.
your pants is cool.
Yes.
And Happy Gilmore is the golf.
Is the golf one. Yes. So she was off on that.
I was off on that.
Yes.
Just a whole lot of. I love it though.
I mean, but he's got a whole, I don't even know if you call it discography of great content. And it's not Netflix Adam Sandler, guys. He's had like maybe two.
Yeah,
like
y'all
this is
don't
big
know.
screen Adam Sandler.
Y'all don't know.
Right.
Okay. So we are just like off the tracks here, which I love. That's just the way podcasts
No, that's why these
should go,
podcasts
and
are
they're
great.
Amazing. But let's get back on track a little bit because I find your trajectory of your career, just everything kind of how it's aligned up to this point, really interesting. And I only know a little bit of that.
Right.
So let's get back to obviously starting your agency. How did this all come to life truly? Because I know you have a background
Right.
as an
And
athlete.
Yeah, as an athlete.
And so how this dream kind of came to life in creating your own.
I'll tell you the quick story is that I just felt like I had a gift for people. When I was playing in, no matter what level it was, people gravitated towards me. I typically gravitated towards people. Like I'm codependent in very many ways. While I also like to be alone, I'm on the road a lot. So I can operate alone, but I really operate better when I'm around people because I feel like I'm using my gift to impact them. And so when I was trying to figure out my next life, I started kind of just connecting dots. Like, all right, if I'm on the Vikings and I'm one of the, the practice squad players, but I'm hanging out with Adrian Peterson and I'm hanging out with the stars of the team and I'm typically the point person for them. So whether it was, setting up a night at the club or is it, being at the autograph signing and making sure I get the business card of the person that brought him there to sign autographs. I was like, this is my gift. And so once I knew football was completely out of the question and was done, I went back to finish my degree and there was a lot of players coming out of Boise State, the Kellen Moores of the world, Tyrone Crawford, Shea McClellan, Doug Martin, all were draft picks. So I was like, well, you have this gift, right? I went and interned at my old agency and I saw that there was a deficiency in marketing people that understood the athlete. And so that's where I could fill the gap. That's where I can fill the need. And that just came natural to me. So short, long story.
We're all about the long stories. Don't you worry. You
Yeah.
say it all here.
Yeah.
So as I think the struggle here for a lot of athletes, right? They don't think beyond the
Right.
game, the football field. So
Right.
was your mindset always, okay, how do I prepare for what's next?
Yeah.
Was that always?
It was always, that was part of the equation of why I chose to go into this field. I always carried myself in a way that I was more than an athlete. Whether it was my interactions with fans, whether it was my interactions with boosters, with coaches, like even just at, in a prep high school coach, I hugged them every day. I loved up on them. I try to soak as much up the good and the bad from them and use it for my value or just internalize. And I just feel like a lot of athletes have this like blinders on because they're so gifted in so many ways that you forget that you should be acquiring more gifts because it's there for the taking. And it's especially there for the taking when you have a platform. And a lot of people don't recognize how quickly that platform can go. So that's where I've always had that mindset personally. So it's really me just conveying that to the people that trust me as their consultant for that.
Absolutely. And I think, covering football for a while, I think one of the things that I always like to bring out were the stories, the people, the guys under the helmet, right?
Yeah,
because they all have other passions. And what would be your argument against people who have that mentality of, well, if I want to be at this elite level, it's all football all day. And that's my DNA. That's who I am in order to get to that level.
There's some truth to that. There's some truth to that because honestly, getting to a second contract it should be the goal, right? That's when you're financially, you should be financially set. But it's a short-sighted way of thinking of what you can handle. Ooh. You've already handled one of the hardest things. You're already a 0.001%er, right? That means that you're gifted in other ways and you have the capacity to do so. So why limit what you can do? And unfortunately, that is more of a mindset that's brought on by other people, right? Our coaches, our agents, sometimes our parents focus on this so then I can have my money, right? Focus on this so you can take care of mama and buy the house. And sometimes that gets lost. Yeah, that gets lost in it. And I always say the biggest blessing in my personal football career is that my parents did not give a damn about football. My parents saw football as a way for me to be around friends, to stay out of trouble, and to have some sort of discipline. Right. And so my parents, like even to the day that I got picked up as an undrafted free agent by the Kansas City Chiefs, they probably didn't really know what my mom would ask me, like if I scored a touchdown. I was like, Mom, I play defense. Like if we scored a touchdown, I'd be getting drafted first round we'd be, we'd be good. So it was a blessing because there was no added pressure on that side. I talked to kids, and one specifically that was here that had a very, very involved mother, and the pressure is that much more. And so, you're always trying to you hear this in sports a lot. You're trying to set yourself up for success. But a lot of it is limited by the people around us because they add extra anxiousness and extra, pressure. But yeah, so I mean, I don't even know what we were talking about there, but
I'm going to stop you here because I think there's this whole other place that we can go right now is your parents not really like you said, giving a damn, like football, did you score a touchdown? But how much of that obviously being immigrants from the Dominican Republic coming here, and it's that mentality of like a workman's mentality, I'm sure, right? Like making your dreams come true here and not really seeing the gravity of like, wow, my son has made
it was very minute to my family. It was very small to myself. Like we already made a jump from a third world country to a land of opportunity. Like in my mind, I was blessed from the beginning, from the time I stepped off the bus. We bussed from Florida to California. Wow. You know what I mean? Like when my dad started a church of 40 immigrants in the English church, we were like the second session of the English church. We would have my dad's church and then we would clean the church. Like we would literally we wouldn't leave church until the congregation left. My dad said all the goodbyes, talked to all the mijas and mijos and abuelos y abuelas, and then we would clean it up. And obviously as a young child, like I don't know what that's building at the moment, but it instilled like such a great like core for me and my brother and my brothers. And so, like that's the ethos of that. Right. And again, but it takes reflection because there's a lot of immigrants that come here and feel scorned. There's a lot of people that feel scorned of their life situation. But instead of reflecting on the positives of what you learn from that, what you earn from that, has always been the limitations of the people that fail.
Yeah. How old were you when you?
7.
7.
Yeah. So 1991, we came to the States. My dad's funny. Like he was actually studying in the States for his first PhD and, first master's. And he actually flew back to the Dominican Republic to have me and my brother, which is hilarious because then he cost some money to make us naturalized citizens. He could have just had us in the States. But, I thank my dad every day. Like my dad is, a worker bee. He's got, a master's, a PhD. He was a professor at Azusa Pacific for 25 years. Wow. And then right when he's set to retire, he moved back to the Dominican Republic. Now he's the president of the largest university there. So, and so his communication of like, proudness and stuff like that was really like, what's next for you? Like, it wasn't really like, hey, you've really achieved this. Like we'd had moments, but he just always expected more of us. And that's another thing that, really resonated with my brother and I. So yeah, it's really cool.
You have that mindset of like, okay, what's next? What's the next chapter that keeps you on that hustle, that grind. But also you spoke on being able to be in the moment too. So do you feel like that had that adverse effect of like, okay, I've been trained to always like go to that next moment, that next hit level. So I need to realize how to also be in that moment at the same time.
For sure. I would say the power of reflection and the power of peripheral, the power, like there's just a lot of different aspects, but you always have to have that time to just sit and think, appreciate, and be in the moment. Especially when you live a life, like I'm moving a million miles per hour. Like I've been on over 100 flights this year. And so a lot of the time, and this is where the struggle on the family life starts coming in. Like I'm still trying to work on with family, and my wife has been steadfast in saying, be in the moment. Right. And so I do it with my athletes, and then you're like, she's got to remind me to do it with my family. So there's a lot of that involvement, but yeah, I mean, that's part of, I guess we'll call it an equation of what's kind of driven me to what I've done today.
That work-life balance. We'll get into more specifically like what you do day to day,
I know.
what
we
your
kind of went into it.
relationships look like. But in talking about like that work-life balance and how to manage it all, what would your advice be to someone getting into this industry? Because I feel like it seems very sexy, right? So working in sports is like,
I get more DMs about you guys hiring. I'm like, you sure? I would say be sure that you love people with a deep, deep amount of love and grace, because we're not perfect. We don't operate as such, and there's going to be a lot of
damage control?
Beyond damage control, there's going to be a lot of heartache. There's going to be a lot of letdowns. And so be prepared to be, to have that armor. Right. And so that's what I would say, because you have to really see past a lot of negatives to really serve people consistently.
So you spoke on obviously serving people. The importance of that is such a core asset to have in your industry. What would be another skill set needed in what you do day to day?
I would say dot connecting, working backwards. When I first got into the industry, specifically with some of our bigger clients that are now kind of full-time, guys like Patrick Peterson, he had other representatives that would not fill me in on things. And so I would literally have to work backwards to make sure that I was present, to make sure that I was also meeting the right people to get into the industry. So it wasn't, I wasn't received with open arms by any means, because a lot in representation is a power struggle. And a lot of it is worrying on who's going to have the last say or who's got influence on who. So I would say working backwards, and it also works when we're trying to align, brands with athletes, right? We have to, sort through who represents that brand. Do they have, we actually just brokered a really significant deal, the biggest of her career for Mina Haragai. And one of the components that helped get the deal is that I watched their marketing campaigns on YouTube before we had the conversation with the brand. So it's kind of doing the prep work and making sure that you're prepared for each conversation to be intentional. And I would say intentional is a really good way of going about it. Every interaction, every communication, be intentional in what you do, because that's going to come back, tenfold if you do it the right way, and vice versa, right? If you do it the bad way, you ruin a first impression in a small industry where the circles are really small and very tight. You put yourself in a really bad position to succeed.
Okay, so for the viewers that are watching, listening, shame on me. We haven't even gotten into like what exactly you do.
Oh, trust me, that's the last 10 years I've been trying to define that.
Who am I?
Yeah, like who am I?
Who am I? But I mean, for people who are not familiar, we're just throwing names out, things out here.
Right.
Break down your job description, what you do for these athletes.
So we are a brand management and marketing firm, and we put brand management before that because we believe building a strong, significant, consistent brand is what resonates to get to that monetization, marketing, representation, being an ambassador for a brand or ambassador for yourself. That comes first. A lot of what we do when we bring on athletes, entertainers, brands is we build the core. I can speak to it. We created the P2 moniker. When I met Patrick, Patrick had like 5 different nicknames: P twice, Pat P, PP. And we know that those sound
Patty
terrible.
P.
Patty P, you know what I mean? And so when, one of the first core decisions I had to make for this young 22-year-old was, you have a great on-field brand as this unbelievable rookie who just broke the punt or tied the punt return record. We need to make sure that we have something that, is transcendent of the game, right? Something that's going to be, used for cross-platform, whether it be social media, a signature shoe, your own toothpaste brand, whatever. And we created that. And so that gave us a core to then when, he signs his big Under Armour deal, that's something that we kind of use for the signature stuff for that. So every client is different, but in the core of what we do is we build the brand first and most importantly.
Oh my gosh, there's so much on that.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I want
there's
to
a lot.
insert State 48 here because it's actually how we all came together here.
Absolutely.
Was not so much a mistake, but like a uh-oh moment.
Yeah.
And you came calling saying, no, dog.
Yeah, right.
So give us some background of how the two came to be.
Yeah, so I think, in representation, I'm vigilant. I think what makes me great is that I'm nonstop paying attention to nuance, to stuff that's in behind the scenes or in front of the scenes. And, keeping in touch with social media, I saw this T-shirt going around with Peterson and 21, and they had a cool little, it was really a really great way of using the P and the 2 and his number. And I was like, okay, well, let's see what these people are about. I didn't necessarily go straight to you're using my client's name, image, and likeness. We need to shut that down. I was like, well, this is a young, hungry company that saw value in aligning with Patrick, which means one, he's got brand equity. So we're doing something right. He's doing something right on the field. And so how can we maximize this? And so when we all sat down, like I know this now, Mike was kind of nervous. When you hear you're talking to a representative, you typically think you're going to talk to an agent or an agent that's typically a lawyer. And there's a lot of people out there that wouldn't have the foresight to see, maybe we can grow together. Some of Patrick's most significant brand partners, one that could sell for a couple $1 billion, started as just product relationships. And so I've always seen value in that. And I think a lot of that, I'll give myself a pat on the back, is because I'm really good at maintaining the relationships and making sure that things don't get out of hand. If we saw them selling 150,000 units and we had no sort of royalty, that would have been a problem. Right. But in my mind, I said, this is more valuable to us, aligning with a brand that has an affinity in a state that we want to that we want people to have an affinity for Patrick for. So that's really how it came about. So I met Nicholas, I met Stefan, I almost called him Steven. And then I met Mike, and I've been able to see it grow. And honestly, they were a microcosm of what I feel for Arizona. They were inviting, they were receptive, they were eager. It was really great to meet people that were looking for their own community and building community. Because if we're going to be real, beyond what Nicholas has built out as, and I have to say this because he's right here as a producer.
He's literally staring at us.
But no, I think the best thing that he did beyond the design and everything that's been put on is they built community first. And that goes back to what my, core values are, is like build a strong brand and which coincides with community. And you could do anything, right? Now it's on a license plate. Now it's a nonprofit. Now it's a podcast. And that's valuable. And I've always, stayed in touch with everyone and made sure that I'm an affirmation of like the little things that they're achieving. And every time I get an opportunity to send a text, to show up to a keynote, I do that because I really believe that they're what's good in this community. And a lot more people need to take notice.
Okay, so the relationship was formed, and then how did you guys continue on working
together?
Well,
we tried to make it work. I think this goes back to having a sense of reality too. Like, there was an opportunity to sell some signature shirts and no one got rich off it. But what it was a built out community, and it got so far as to, we weren't even doing signature clothes, but they were supporting a shop with a jock every year. And so there was still an alignment, right? And, that's actually run by someone else, but the relationship we built and sustained and maintained helped support that. Right. And that is what I feel every intention should be to every person we represent, how I represent myself. I want every person that I engage with 20 years down the line to be like, that was such a great interaction. How can I support you? And vice versa. Mm-hmm. If I'm interacting with you and I see, that I can support in some way, I do it. And that is where a lot of the mentoring of this business is, because beyond it being verbal and people hearing me say it, I do it. So like a lot of people, my wife, we sometimes get in an argument about this because she feels every relationship in my life benefits me at times, right? Not all, she says all the time, but what
she said what she said.
She said what she said. But what I don't think she really recognizes is that it's a true value, like to me, because I do get something, but it's more than something physical. Like I'm empowered. I am blessed. And it isn't just what's going to come back from it. And I think people see that. There's a reason why exclusive shoes show up to this little small agency in Arizona, and they don't show up to these big WMEs, CAAs. It's because the people that I engage with, they truly want me and the people around me to succeed because they see that, on the opposite end as well.
I feel like part of your job description as well might be life coach. Like
100%. There's no doubt.
Beyond just like working the contracts, getting the deals for these guys and women. So much of it is that life coaching.
Yeah. And honestly, like Mina's a perfect example. Like Mina, when we met her, she was a 220th golfer in the world. The one thing I said we would do for her is empower her as a person. Whether that was, and that didn't come with money. That came with a free car. Shout out Santan Ford. That came with Patrick texting her and encouraging her and supporting her. That came with me being at trips and paying my own way to be there at the end of the tournament to be like, hey, that was great. Or, hey, we can do better. So once that empowerment started happening, better stuff started happening with her game, which then started kind of creating this snowball effect of support. And now then she's playing, and now she got up as high as 22nd in the world Rolex rankings. Wow. She was second in the U.S. Open when she was the first female to win $1 million as a second place golfer. So I think all those things really speak to the way not only my clients carry themselves, but the way that I carry myself. And it's the reason I called it the society is because I wanted everyone in that society to support each other. In a perfect society, utopia, everyone plays a role. The farmer plays a role. The driver plays a role. The gas man plays a role. The gasoline person plays a role. Mm-hmm. And I want that. So if Patrick Peterson shows up and his first interaction with Mike Spankenberg is a great one, you know what I mean? We know that we're going to have that support, right? And the next person that we bring to Mike's going to know, shoot, Patrick, Patrick was great. Alex only brings me great people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that serves as a value to everyone in our company, in our peripheral.
That is so good, because I feel, a lot of people who want to get into the sports marketing industry, or just truly any within that, they go by the textbook, they're in the school, the classes, like how much can you truly get that with
No, it's
you need
tough.
to be out in the field, build those relationships, and that's where something so unique that you've created now is formed.
No, I mean, the best and worst part about this, like what I've built, is that my marketing for my business is me physically being there. And it's the toughest part. It's the most physically daunting, monetarily daunting. You know, my business partners look at my P&L and they're like, wow, 100 flights? I was like, yeah, well, that's what built my book of business to make up for the lack of 30 years that I don't have in this industry, like CAA and Wasserman have. So, you know, we're blessed to start having some young, hungry people in the company that are going to start taking over some of that travel and scale that a little bit. But they have to have the same infectious passion for this and people for it to work, or it won't work.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like need a society DNA, but
Yeah,
it's almost
absolutely.
like
I like that.
Thanks.
Yeah, put that on a t-shirt and sell it, huh?
Open mouth,
Yes.
open business.
Yes.
That's like what
Yes.
the gist of what you
Yeah,
do.
and if you're gonna open your mouth, have it be graceful, have it be caring, have it be uplifting, because that's what resonates with people, and have it be truthful. Like, I've never been a yes man. Like, that is one thing where I have the blessing that I can speak from experience. And so that gives me accountability, that gives me, you know, notoriety right away with the people, and they trust for the majority. You would think more would recognize that. You know, it's funny talking to some of the younger guys, and I tell them, like, well, Patrick Peterson's a Hall of Famer. You probably want this road to becoming to this athlete. And this is what we did. And it still goes in one ear and out the other, unfortunately, but it is what it is.
Young bucks out there.
Yeah. It is. It's what it is.
Speaking of young bucks, how much have you seen just the industry truly change with the way that social media has taken over the landscape? It's almost like put yourself out there first on social media, and then that's what obviously gravitates the dollar signs, the monetization, and all of that.
There's two aspects to that. One, social media is the one controllable brand component. So when we first signed Patrick only had a Twitter account. Patrick didn't care for Facebook, didn't care for Instagram. I literally had to force him to start an Instagram. And now that is his largest generating platform. And it's still going to help drive whatever he chooses to do beyond the football field. If he becomes the next, Greg Olsen and is calling the Super Bowl, and he signs a deal with Samsung before the Super Bowl, he's going to be able to leverage that social media and that audience and that community. And so we feel strongly that social media is a great asset if used correctly, which is why we manage a majority of it and why we drive the strategy behind it. And so on the back end, it could also be the double-edged sword that kills your career. And so a lot of athletes who choose to, want to be so hands-on that they don't understand the gravity of what you post, what you talk about, who you engage with, who you follow. It's been fully documented. There's been guys that have dropped in the draft because of who they follow, what they've said, obviously cancel culture. But social's changed it in that way. And I just think for those that want to take this seriously, even those that want to be in representation, like I find it really hard to really have full faith in someone who's being represented, or who is a representative that doesn't manage themselves well on social media. Because if you're managing a brand and you don't know how to manage your own brand, that's a tough sell for me. Because ultimately it's unless you're a coach, there's very, very little coaches that never played the game in some way or have been around it that are great coaches. Bill Belichick is an anomaly. But yeah, so I feel the same way about brand, life coaching. Like you said, you have to typically live it and immerse yourself in it to be able to have what you preach resonate.
So part of what you do you study the algorithms? Do you study the trends, like to be able to then serve your clients and serve them in a way that's obviously beneficial to grow their platform?
Yeah, I mean, the technical side has come in as we've gotten more data, but really my biggest studying is people. I'm obsessed with people. I'm obsessed with marketing. I have no qualms about it. Like, I'm obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with people. I've been studying people, and this is what the blessing is with team sports, and why a lot of people that come from team sports are typically great in, the workplace. They learn how to work as a team for one common goal. If you choose to have one role on a football team, you're typically going to be okay with your role at your workplace and want to strive to be great at that. And that's what makes a great team. And so that's just always something that I've gravitated towards in a way that I leverage that.
So list off some of the athletes that you guys represent, who you worked with.
I would say, if the Arizona podcast, the two that are going to resonate the most are Patrick Peterson and Archie Bradley. And Patrick was a lot of like learning the business and kind of going, and I give him a lot of credit. I literally was introduced to Patrick because this is a funny story. I actually snuck onto the SB's red carpet.
No, you didn't.
Yes. So I had one of my very first notable clients was one of my best friends at Boise State, Ryan Clady. He was on the Denver Broncos. He was a left tackle, so he's by no means the most marketable player on the team. But I knew he had
one of the most important.
Yeah, but one of the most important, absolutely. So we were able to garner one red carpet pass to the ESPYs. And of course, I knew that the action was really happening on the red carpet. So I act like I've been there before, walk on, and I'm just shaking hands with all the people. And one of the people that I shook hands on that red carpet with is Peter Wright, who was Patrick Peterson's financial advisor. And a good story on where everything went from there, he basically saw me interacting with, rest in peace, Demarius Thomas, and Ryan that day. And he saw something in me. Like, it might sound pompous, it might sound whatever, but he was like, this guy's a go-getter. And he lives in Arizona. Once he found out I lived in Arizona, he's like, have you heard of Patrick Peterson? I was like, of course I've met a Patrick Peterson. Like, I've heard of him, never met him. He's like, well, how much, he's really into golf. You golf? I was like, yeah, I golf. And he's like, you got any connections? I was like, of course I got connections. I had zero connections, zero golf connections. After that interaction, he said, well, if you can get him some free golf, I'll get you a meeting with him. And as the story goes, I called just about every single golf course in Arizona. He lived off of Ocotillo and Gilbert. And I was like, okay, proximity here. Everyone said no except for one golf course, and it was Ocotillo. Wow. And it was my guy Derek, who consequently also went and worked at Pinehurst. And the very first golf trip I ever did with Patrick was to Pinehurst, and he hooked it up there too. So that's 18 holes later, Patrick hired me, and it was kind of, the rest is history.
Wow, I love that. And the focal point here is golf.
I'm telling you. So
you're saying I gotta...
Yo, I tell Patrick, so like, Pat's got all this cool stuff now, but let me tell you, Pat was the guy that used to golf in basketball shorts with an ugly orange ball.
Oh, he would never.
Yeah, he would never now. Like, I used to tell him, like, hey, dog, like, you got to wear like some regular golf shorts. But, until he really got into it, but like, he'll tell stories about how, he was so into it. Like, he read in Golf Digest that he should use an orange golf ball because it helps you see it better. And he used to come out with an orange golf ball. I'd be like, bro, that golf ball is hideous, bro. Like, let's go do something else. But again, that's really, like I said, it's a small microcosm of the way I operate. Like, the way I engaged and interacted with Peter Wright that night on the red carpet led to me interacting, meeting, and ultimately securing my biggest client. And I just, the message I convey to the guys that I work with today is, you never know when that opportunity is going to come, whether it be business, whether it be a relationship with a woman, you know what I mean? Whether it be your future spouse, be intentional with the way that you're going to interact, because that can come full circle in many ways.
Stay ready.
Stay ready.
Get ready.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
Your whole story with that is like, I actually hate the phrase like fake it till you make it, because I truly believe there's so much that you need to prepare for, like, stay ready.
Perception is reality, though.
But I think it's all about like putting yourself in position to then score the deal. Like, go on that red carpet, act like you belong, shake hands, do a little pose if you need to. So that people are like, who is he? It's the energy you bring.
I'm not ashamed to say it. There's two of my biggest victories in life. came from me faking it like I made it. And one of them was buying dinner for my wife the next day after we met downtown in Boise. I bought her lunch. I went into overdraft for that. So I was definitely faking it.
Here's
My second one was with the VP of sports marketing for a helmet company called Zenith Helmets. And he came in. I was trying to get Patrick and Tyron to wear the helmet. And I took him out to lunch. I went into the negatives on that. Full story, he's now the CEO of Hyperice, and Patrick owns a percentage in Hyperice that's worth millions of dollars. And so those were two of the biggest decisions I made, and I definitely was faking it, picking up the bill.
Saying a little sign of the cross.
Yes, like, please let it run. That's why I was always good at making sure I had enough to make sure that the transaction would still go through. And yeah, I also had a gift for helping get those overdraft charges reversed. I remember in college, I used to go up to that Bank of America, and I used to charm the crap out of the GM there. I'd be like, sweetie.
So wait.
I was like, sweetie, it happened again. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do it, though. And like, damn well I do it. And she would reverse it, dude. Like, it was, yeah, she would.
I didn't even know that was reversible. Look
Oh,
at
yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I did everything above board other than the flirting. I didn't do anything else after that, but it was just like treating her nice. You know what I mean? Like but hey, you know, if you got it, use it. You know what I mean? I know the ladies do.
If you got it, use it. That's going to be the title of this podcast,
yes,
by the way.
Absolutely.
We absolutely need to do a part 2 because there's just so much more that we can get into and just riff off. But it's so good seeing you again. Thank you so much for coming by.
And congratulations on everything. And I know that you did a lot of really great things while you were with the Cardinals, and I'm excited what you're doing after. And like you said, man, like if you got it, use it.
I just got to get on the golf course now and protect that.
You're going to double up sales once you do.
All right, let's go.
There we go.
All right, well, make sure, I already know, you're subscribed to the podcast already, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, so can't wait for this to be released into the world.
Absolutely. And I will say one more thing, like, it's an honor to be on this because, again, this is another affirmation of, like, somebody that I saw had potential and it came true. Like, I really saw a lot in the guys. I saw their work ethic and I saw the potential of building a community out, and to their credit, I'm sure it wasn't easy along the way, but they stuck to it. And now they have, I'll call it an empire. I'm sure they probably,
is.
I mean,
hey, you're sitting here on a podcast
no
now.
doubt, no doubt.
From a design.
No doubt.
The beauty
they
of
got a
this
light. Come on, man. Like, they got a neon light. That's dope.
Can I just say it was partially my idea?
Oh, okay. Hey, see, always show you. Do it. Do it.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll see you guys next week.